Oh, so he talks a lot about training your ears, like how trained listeners do a better job of analyzing. But he also says that that subjective listening is not very useful. You know, and I'm thinking, all right. So my process is this: I listen first, right? I listen first because I don't like when I see something in the measurements. It really starts making me focus in on that. So that gets selective. What is that? Selective, whatever it's
Listening.
called.
Well, you've already kind of got a
Selective listening,
preconceived
but,
notion of what these are going to sound like.
Yeah, you kind of have. So I try not to do that, right? But so I'll listen first, and then I'll do measurements also. But that's what I'm doing. I'm training to make sure that what I'm hearing is lining up with the measurements. So doing this all the time, you start getting to know, like, oh, okay, I was wrong on that. It was actually this frequency. So that is a sense of training, right? You know what I'm talking about, right, Chana? When you're constantly trying to figure out, when you're producing music, for example.
Yeah. So, like the fact that, I mean, like I've been doing this for decades now, where it's just like listening to the same song over and over. Okay, I think the hi-hat's a little too hot over here in the chorus. Bring that down. Okay, now there's not enough hi-hat in the verse. So it's kind of like, hearing it, sitting here in my studio, closing my eyes, listening to it again, being like, it's these details I try not to get hung up on. But as a music producer, because once it leaves my hand and goes to my mastering engineer, I need to make sure it's at a certain level, right? Everything is at a certain level for each track before I send it to him, because he's going to bounce back and be like, hey man, I need this here. I need that here. Whether that's panning, whether he's like, there's too much clutter in the center of the mix. Right, I have to go back and change things. So I try to do as much as I can before, because I don't want to waste his time, because then he charges me more. Well,
my point just being, when you're producing music, if you're not accurate, if you don't know which frequencies, which sliders to touch, right, then you're just gonna be messing around with, like, well, I don't know, the wrong ones, right? If there's an issue, you should be able to go directly to the ones you need to get. So my whole point is, other people are doing some sort of training. It's not just you, right? It's not just one person that's in the world doing it. We're constantly, if this is your profession, you should try to get better, right? In whatever way. Sure. Rocky's training in the mountains, and Drago's doing a different type of training. So they're all training. Right?
So what I used to do for ear training, and I do this. There's a software that helps you learn how to do subtractive synthesis, right? Using a synthesizer. So it's an app. Basically, what it does is it gives you a certain amount of controls. Obviously, the beginning lessons, they give you like 3 or 4 controls. But when you get into the advanced, they give you like 15 controls. And they play a sound. Do, 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 do. And you have to move the sliders to get the exact matching sound. And in the beginning to like the middle of the course, easy for me. Once we get into like 20 controls, now I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, like, what frequency range needs adjusting? Yeah.
Well, so there's a few different ways to get the same sound. And so what you're trying to listen for is like, okay, how is the envelope affecting the sound? It's the attack's coming in hard or strong, and then it's going to drop a little, so there's a little bit of decay, and then but it does sustain quite a bit, and then the roll off or the tails just cut off real quick. So you have
next
to,
level, bro. That's next level. You're on a whole. That's a different.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out which frequencies are which.
That's Chana DJ stuff right there.
So and basically, like that's actually one of the ways. Like when I was at Musicians Institute and I was going through my guitar improvisation class to learn how to solo and stuff, they're like, think of the sound in your mind, and then find it on the guitar neck. And I was just like, oh. And then he's like, sing it out in your mind, the melody you want, and then find out where the notes are, so you'll know which part of the guitar neck those notes lie. And then from there, after doing that for months on end, then you're like, oh, you hear something, you're like, oh, they're playing up here, or the notes are up here in this frequency range.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I used to sit in front of the TV and just I don't know whatever TV commercial was on, I would use the third string to figure out what key they're in, and then just start soloing over that, because I don't know what because I was trying to train my ear to like recognize the key of whatever random music just happens to be on. So there's a bunch of different ways to train your ears on, you know, where those frequencies lie through, you know, through an instrument or whatever, you know, it happens to be.
Yeah. Just jokingly, sometimes I made a video where I pretended like I just drew out the frequency response after listening to the speaker. But just, you know, it's good practice, actually. You listen to a speaker, try to draw out the frequency response and see how close you are to the actual measured.
You're like, here's the frequency response.
Just close your eyes. But sometimes, like, it's like, oh, that's pretty close, but this is not at this range. It's over here. Right. So it's good practice to do that. It's weird, but it's something, if you're a reviewer, I think is useful. Another thing that he said was that subjective listening. So he was talking about how, again, subjective listening. He wasn't a big fan of how Aaron kind of does a subjective listening. He said, I think he said him specifically, so that's why I'm saying that he listened to subjective and then he does a measurement, and he thought that was kind of useless to do that. And to me, the subjective part is not useless because the measurements, although, you know, I like I'm saying, 90-95% I agree, very useful, right? The measurements are very useful, but to a lot of people, they don't understand what the measurements mean.
No.
And we're not robots, okay? So we're humans, and I think a lot of these folks, if they're entering the hobby, if you say, all right, well, it has this thing at 3 kilohertz, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? I don't know. If you don't have experience, you don't know what that means, right? So again, we're here to teach people, and so, you know, he was even saying a lot of people aren't trained. So when you say 3 kilohertz, then what? What does that mean? If Michael says, hey, my subs go down to 10 hertz, what does that mean? Right. These people don't know. But if you say it goes down to 10 hertz, stuff shakes in my other room, but I can't really hear anything. But stuff is shaking like crazy. Okay, well, that's something you can relate to. Chana says my wine glasses are shaking.
Got the wine glasses, that's right.
You know, it's a way to relate your experience. Reference. That's the whole point, is to relate what you're hearing. And, you know, it could be what's being measured too. It's about relatability. It's not about like that it's more important or less important. It's about, they go together, right? I think that those two go together. So anyway, I have a few more things. I wrote down my notes because I didn't want to. So that's the thing. We're human beings. Our whole point is to relate our experiences. And then the other thing is that I think that different reviewers have their own strengths and weaknesses, right? You know, what one guy does is probably, you know, I'm not the best at everything. I'm pretty good at a lot of things, I think. You know, I try to... No, he doesn't think
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I think I'm good at the things that I think are important to me, right?
Yeah.
Angela. Amir's too busy trying to see who has a bigger clipple.
Yeah. So...
It's a clipple measuring contest. Get it?
I think the whole point is to try to learn from others, right? So a lot of times, like, I'll learn from Michael or Chana in the way that they're doing things, right? Chana is, you know, sometimes I give some advice, you know, about like some camera or whatever tricks, right? So we're all learning from each other. It's not like, yes, you know, I talk to Aaron when it comes to something like clipple related or something very technical. I don't have to be the best at every single one, and I don't have to be the go-to source. I don't think
you can be. There's this one song, you know, everything to everyone. You can't. You just can't be that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's fine to take from different, you know, places. You know, he also said, like, you know, the reviewers in general. I don't think he's speaking to me, but maybe some of these other guys who do some nice B-roll. You know, I don't want to say specifics, but you know, some people do nice looking videos, and he said maybe they should just stick to just the features. Like, just talk about the features because they do a great job of that. But are they supposed to just talk about the features and not talk about how it sounded? Like, are they not going to talk about the sound at all? Like, what do you do?
You can get that from their website.
You know, you talk about the features and then what? I mean, like, for example, monolith sub, we both have this monolith sub, right? I'm not going to do the CEA 2010 measurements outside, but Audioholics did, right? Who was it? James Larson did those measurements. So in my video, I'm planning on saying, if you want more detail, go check out that review. That's no problem to me. I don't want to do it.
I think the thing is, though, is that we're not scared to say, Chana's got a video on that. Go check it out. Or somebody else on this platform. You know, I think
like if you want to know more.
I think too many people look at this as like this competition thing.
Yeah.
You know, where they are comparing meter sticks.
Yeah.
I could care less about your meter stick. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Well,
to me, it's like if you've got a video on it and
Mhm.
I'm not doing a video on it, I'm going to point people to you. I've done that
Yeah.
all the past 3.5 years. And I'm totally cool with that, you know?
and real quick, so Kanga says, "Is this reaction audio show?" No. Well, this is a reaction to what he said specifically about other reviewers. So I am another reviewer. He probably wasn't talking about me specifically, but I think I'm allowed to comment on a topic. So this is a topic of discussion, and I'm not. It could have been anybody else. It doesn't have to be him. But yeah, like I said, I agree with 95% of what he said in that video. It's just that some of the other things I think is good to discuss. I mean, if he wants to call me up and discuss this, then I could be wrong too. That's fine.
I do like Reginald's comment here. You can never contemplate the sound of a component by using only test tones. You must be able to listen to the complex timbres of each individual instrument. I would imagine that means just listening to music in general, as opposed to just because who's going to do that? I mean, yes, we'll do that. But
sometimes.
yeah, I know. And we totally know because Gracie, your daughter, is like, I need to test something. And she's making the sounds, which is hilarious. But
my whole point. So not to cut you off, Jana, sorry, but my whole point is not. My whole point is, you don't have to be right or wrong, right? It's okay to have different ways to do things, right? Aaron, Amir, they're great at taking the measurements and showing you all kinds of stuff that we didn't have access to before. Yeah. I'm 100% for that, right? Some other guys are really good at telling a good story and getting you interested in a product, and some people are great at B-roll. It's all fine, right? There's room for everybody. You don't have to say my goal always has been to bring myself up, but not have to step on anybody on the way up, right? I'm not stepping on heads to bring myself up. I don't think that's not my approach. Right. I think the whole point is let's bring everybody up, right? Yeah, right. I love what he's doing. I love all this stuff. There's more than enough. This is a fun hobby. Life is good. Life is good.